Most people believe life changes because of big decisions. A new job, a major mistake, a dramatic turning point. But the truth is quieter than that. Life is shaped far more by small habits than by big moments. The habits we repeat without thinking. The routines we normalize. Behaviors that slowly become invisible. And the most dangerous habits rarely feel dangerous. They feel normal. They feel harmless. They feel like the way life simply works. But over time, these invisible patterns quietly shape our direction, our energy, and our sense of purpose. This episode is part of the Invisible Habits series, where we explore the quiet patterns that influence life without most people noticing. And today, we're looking at 7 habits that slowly, almost silently, sabotage life. Not overnight, but over years. Habit 1. Living on autopilot. Many people move through life almost automatically. Wake up, check the phone, follow the routine, repeat the same day again tomorrow. Nothing seems particularly wrong, but something subtle begins to disappear. Awareness. When life is lived on autopilot, days blur together. You stay busy, but rarely present. Productive, but not reflective. Time moves forward, but your sense of direction stays unclear. Autopilot doesn't destroy life in a dramatic way. It simply prevents you from noticing where your life is going. And when awareness disappears, intentional living disappears with it. Habit 2. Waiting to feel ready. Another invisible habit is the belief that action must wait for the right feeling. People wait for motivation. They wait for confidence. They wait for certainty. So important decisions are postponed. New opportunities are delayed. Ideas remain ideas. The problem is that readiness rarely arrives before action. Confidence is usually the result of movement, not the cause of it. When people wait too long for the perfect moment, life quietly moves forward without them. Years later, many realize they weren't waiting for readiness. They were waiting for fear to disappear. And fear rarely disappears without action. Habit 3. Consuming more than creating. Modern life makes it incredibly easy to consume information. Endless videos, articles, advice, opinions. At first, it feels productive. Learning feels like progress. But when consumption greatly outweighs creation, something important begins to fade. Your own voice, your own perspective, your own ability to act. A person who constantly absorbs ideas but rarely expresses their own gradually becomes a spectator instead of a participant. Creation doesn't have to be perfect, it simply has to exist. Without it, knowledge turns into passive observation instead of meaningful growth. Habit 4. Normalizing mental exhaustion. Many people today feel mentally tired almost all the time, but instead of questioning it, they accept it. They call it responsibility. They call it adulthood. They call it modern life. But chronic mental exhaustion isn't normal. It's a signal. When the mind is constantly overloaded, clarity disappears. Small decisions feel harder. Patience becomes thinner. Motivation becomes fragile. Over time, exhaustion becomes the new baseline. And once fatigue feels normal, people forget how clear and focused the mind is meant to feel. Habit 5. Avoiding discomfort. Discomfort is often interpreted as a warning sign, something to escape, something to avoid. So people avoid difficult conversations. They delay important decisions. They stay in familiar situations longer than they should. Avoidance provides temporary relief. But relief comes at a cost. Unspoken words become tension. Unmade decisions become regret. And comfort slowly turns into a boundary around life. Growth rarely happens in perfect comfort. It happens when discomfort is approached with curiosity rather than fear. Habit 6. Harsh self-talk. Everyone has an internal voice, a running commentary inside the mind. For many people, that voice becomes surprisingly critical. You should be further ahead. You should be doing better. You're falling behind. This voice often believes it's being helpful, but constant internal criticism does not create growth. It creates hesitation. It creates self-doubt. And over time, it weakens trust in your own decisions. Most people would never speak to a friend the way they speak to themselves. Yet that internal dialogue runs quietly in the background every day. Habit 7. Postponing life until everything is fixed. Perhaps the most subtle habit of all is the belief that life will begin later. Later, when things are stable. Later, when confidence improves. Later, when circumstances feel better. So people remain in preparation mode, planning, waiting, improving. But life does not pause while preparation continues. Moments pass quietly. Opportunities shift. Time moves forward regardless of readiness. And many people eventually realize they spent years preparing to live instead of actually living. The hidden cost of invisible habits. None of these habits feel dramatic. That's why they're powerful. They operate quietly beneath awareness. Day after day, choice after choice, until eventually they shape identity. The result isn't usually disaster. It's something more subtle. A life that functions but doesn't feel deeply fulfilling. The quiet shift that changes everything. Breaking invisible habits rarely requires extreme discipline. It begins with awareness. Simply noticing patterns changes them. Recognizing autopilot creates presence. Questioning exhaustion creates boundaries. Challenging internal criticism creates self-trust. Small awareness leads to small changes. And small changes, repeated consistently, reshape an entire life. Quietly, just like the habits that shaped it before. Closing reflection, life is rarely shaped by dramatic moments. It's shaped by ordinary days, the routines we repeat, the thoughts we normalize, the patterns we stop questioning. And once we begin noticing those patterns, something powerful happens. We regain the ability to choose them. This episode is part of the Invisible Habits series, exploring the quiet patterns that influence our lives without us realizing it. If this reflection resonated with you, consider subscribing for more episodes in the series. And in the comments, share which habit you've noticed in your own life. Sometimes awareness is the beginning of meaningful change.